All right, good evening, ghouls and ghoulettes. It's your old fiend Crystal from Twin Ports Horror Society. Today I am here with Kayla Moria and Brittney Lind. All right, Brittney and Kayla, you are you started a podcast. So let's talk about the name of your podcast, Left of Skeptic.
So the podcast name, that came up because we were trying to think of names for a very long time. That was part of the holdup, was we didn't want to start the podcast till we had a good name for it, because it's the first thing everybody sees.
Mm-hmm.
And so we threw names back and forth for a long time. We had a couple that we thought were good, but then you'd Google search them and it turns out they already exist. And the name is good because somebody else is using it. And then Left of Skeptic was like the idea that you are left of center. If skeptic is center, you're just to the side of it. And the idea like stuck. We kind of liked it, and then we Googled it and nobody else had it. Mm-hmm. So we were like, yeah, sweet, that's it. No more thinking. We're doing it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So can you give me an overview, or the viewers an overview of what one of the episodes of your podcast looks like, and then delve into like how you go about coming up with your content and all of your research that goes in, because there's a lot of information that you get out of your podcast. They're very informative, which I appreciate. So
yeah. Yeah, so I usually start the podcast with the number of which one it is. So far, it's pretty easy. We're up to episode 5, recording episode 6 soon. We do a little bit of banter. There's certain things that we do kind of weird, creepy things in our normal life. Like I'm currently in the middle of the Hunt a Killer box series, so we talk about that, chat with each other a little bit. Then Kayla tells her story, and then I tell my story. And then at the end of every episode, you also get a listener story.
As long as people send them in.
Yes, as long as people send them in, please send them in. We have multiple ways for you to do it.
We'll go over that later.
So it seems like a lot of, from my experience of listening to them, you each kind of sometimes you tell each other what the topic's going to be. Maybe you want surprise. You surprise each other, and then you learn from each other through that information, and share experiences that people have had with different places or items, stuff like that. So how do you go about researching and picking your topics?
You did a much better job at explaining my podcast than I did.
I love it. What can I say? I'm a fan. I'm fanning out right now.
At the beginning, we were really good at the beginning, we talked to each other and we ran the episode idea, the topics back and forth. The last couple, though, it's been pretty much just a surprise. And I like that. I like that Kayla doesn't know what I'm talking about. I think that I will, for the episode 5, I just said, hey, I'm doing an episode about a cemetery. So don't do one about a cemetery because I'm not going to give you any more information than that. And then, yeah. I usually start by, first of all, trying to search. So most of our episodes or our topics are in the Midwest. Not always, but that's in general, the theme is that it's a Midwest-based paranormal podcast. And so I usually try and just search for interesting things that happen in the Midwest. And then I read a little bit about a couple different topics. And then once I find one that I like, I look into the history of it. What's the origin story? And then lead into what the actual stories of the paranormal are. And that's how I do it.
I pick a location I like. And then I start looking stuff up off of.
Really?
Then I start looking stuff up off of that. So episode 5, I was like, you know what? I want to talk about my hometown. And that's where I came up with Split Rock Lighthouse and Blackwoods. Because there wasn't there wasn't a lot of information on either, but I was like, I could do two stories from 2 harbors, and bam, I've just justified talking about 2 different locations. Just because of.
And it's punny.
And it's punny. I like things to be punny. And so I usually start with the location, and then I search interesting things in that area. And so for when I ended up doing the cryptid story on the Beast of Bray Road, I wasn't looking for a cryptid. I was looking in that area of Wisconsin, and then the Beast of Bray Road came up. Research is kind of difficult when you don't have access to, like, I think it might be easier if we had access to just going into the public library a lot more than we can right now because of the pandemic, because you're limited to what's available for free on Google.
Mhm.
So it does mean we have to be really choosy with our sources and try to make sure that we're getting the most accurate information possible. It'd be real nice if there's any historians out there that want to work with us for free, you just let me know, and we'll hook up, because that would make things easier.
That would be very helpful. I mean, I suppose it's hard because, like you just said, getting reliable sources and all of that with just kind of what's at your fingertips is tricky. Now, the most fascinating thing that I have learned, and there's been a lot of it, from listening to your podcast, was about oh my gosh, now I'm not going to remember the name of the lake monster. So it's the
Peppy.
Peppy. I didn't know we had a Peppy here.
I didn't either.
Who knew?
M from And That's Why We Drink knew.
That was super fascinating to me. So had you heard about that like at some point, or did you find that in your research? Like, I'm going to look up this topic and then you find
So I am a big fan of like a couple of different podcasts. I've been like diehard fan for several years, and That's Why We Drink happens to be one of them. And they released a live show episode back in May of the last time they did a live show in Minneapolis, and M talked about Peppy, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? And then when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for my episode, and I was like, I think I'm going to do the first cryptid. And I was like, oh, there was something that M talked about once upon a time ago. And so I looked it up, and yeah, it was great. Although although it is really odd to get inspirations from a different podcast, because you can't fully listen to that podcast in order to get the information, because you're like, well, I want it to be like
original
genuine to mine.
Mhm.
And ours are very different. I would definitely listen to that one if you're interested to learn more about Peppy.
All right, I definitely will. You can send me the link later.
I will.
I want to hear more. All right, do you guys have any like field trips planned? I know you kind of talk about some of those things that you'd like. What's the first thing the two of you would like to do when the world is done ending, when we can go and do things again? Like, what's your first horror-related or paranormal-related field trip?
That's an excellent argument for us to have.
Ooh.
I know what I would like.
Okay.
So
what do you want?
So for me, is something that we could actually do relatively soon to now, is that I have always, and my family always, we just walk through like really old graveyards. That was just our jam. That's what we did.
Mhm.
And if it's just nice out, and as long as we're masked and like keep our social distance, we could actually do that now.
That's true. Absolutely.
And so I feel like we need to take that spirit box, test it out, go to several old graveyards, and then obviously post any findings on TikTok.
Of course, because we need to start, our podcast needs to have an associated TikTok. I stand by that. I would like to go to the Palmer House.
The Palmer House. Mm-hmm.
But
I mean,
that's also like because I like staying in hotels.
Mm-hmm.
So you can stay in the cat room, and I'll stay
there's the Phantom cat, right?
room.
Yeah.
I'll stay in the room with the jacuzzi tub, and you can
Okay.
stay in the haunted cat room. So,
Mhm.
but there's a whole mess of places that I think we would both like to go, and it's going to be a matter of figuring out what works with both of our schedules, because we both have very different schedules, and we both have a host of other obligations that we have that we can work everything around.
You're so busy. So like, that's another thing. Like, not only do you do your podcast, you both have day jobs. You're in school, Kayla. You are a DJ and run Ellipsis, and then I think you work for the city, right, Brittany?
City adjacent. Yeah, I have a full-time
adjacent.
job, city
Right,
adjacent.
yes. So where do you find the time to squeeze in like your research and things for your podcast? I mean, you guys are both, I mean, Kayla, the schooling and everything that both of you have going on. I mean, tell me where you scrape. Is that kind of your like, oh, this is my break. I'm going to do something fun that is kind of, you know, for me, or is that, tell me.
I procrastinate. Like
Mhm.
I like, it's like, oh yeah, you know, I've got a 10-page paper due tomorrow. You know, what'd be a good idea? Let's work on my podcast. And also, so I'm very lucky right now. We'll see how it works out once the pandemic's over, because Vince Sigahosen is not practicing. So that's one night a week that normally would have been taken up by band practice. So I do have that time that I can kind of justify, all right, I can work on the podcast because I don't have band practice.
Mhm.
It might get a little bit more complicated once that comes back into play. Plus, we both have to like find time to spend with like our partners and our family and our friends. Like even if it's just a Zoom call like this or something, it's a lot to balance. But Brittany's like a amazing scheduler. She manages to do. I don't even know how she does all the crap she does.
I don't either.
That's what we do, I think, right? We just find a way to just do all the things that need to be done and make them.
Yeah.
work too. I love
Yeah, it's a lot of sneaking in things. Like honestly, I do a lot. Definitely finish my research on Sunday mornings right before we record.
that. Mhm.
But throughout the week, I'm looking up topics. A lot of times I will find all of the websites that I want and then like email them to myself so that all of the information I know I have, I've read through them. I know which information I want. But then Sunday morning, I get up, I feed my cat, I get some coffee, and then I just sit down and I take all of the information and I put it so that it's a cohesive story. But it's just a matter of like picking and choosing itty bitty pieces of time to collect and then build, is how I would say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good process. That works. I mean, everything that you guys have done so far has been great. Any surprises coming down the chute, or do you guys just kind of wing it every week? You pick or do you like have an outline for future episodes?
I have a couple that I'm sort of looking into. Kayla did a hometown one. I'm looking into right now to see whether or not I can do my hometown one if there's enough information. That's all you get from it. I'm not even going to tell you where I'm from.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because I've been there and I won't say it, but the one time in my life that I've been to your hometown, I went to a what do you call it? Demolition derby. It was literally a bonfire in the middle of a field, and then these people had their junk cars and they were just riding around this fire. I felt like I was in Road Warrior. And they were crashing
Y'all,
into
a
each
that
demo
other.
sounds
derby
right.
is where it's at.
There was beer, there was
A demo
fire, there
derby
was
is like
collisions.
wrestling.
That was the only thing that was
A
missing.
demo
Was the
derby is
wrestling.
wrestling with cars.
I know it was
It's
kind of
wrestling with
amazing.
cars. It's perfect.
Maybe you were there, Brittany.
I bet
love
the
it.
beer was terrible, though. I bet the beer was terrible.
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was not
It's
good.
only ever Keystone Light. It's only ever Keystone Light.
Yeah, it was water beer. It was water beer. But I tell you, that was my one memory, my only time being there, and I would literally never forget it. So
You ruined it. I was going to do a haunted demolition derby field.
sorry.
Spoiled the whole thing.
Spoiled
did,
the
I
whole thing.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was great. That was a lot of fun. It was like a coworker of mine. I was like, yeah, come over and we'll hang out. We're gonna do this thing. I'm like, oh, cool. And then that was
Cool. And then you're like, what is happening right now?
oh my god, it was an
Okay.
experience. I love when things like that happen. It was great. So yay for your hometown. All right. So anyway. Well, that's
Well, we
super
have
cool. Mhm.
we have some other stuff in the works that we've talked about, because I'm a big fan of themed episodes. So I just come up with these ideas for themed episodes at like 11 o'clock at night. And then I text Brittany. I'm like, what about this? And then she's like, okay, but like, we'll talk about this later. Like you're talking about something like 5 months out of the way. And
And
we'll
I
worry
never
about
get
that
to
then."
sleep. Why are you interrupting me?
Yeah, you're an insomniac too, huh? That's right. I heard that.
It's so fun.
Oh my gosh. But I know how that works though, Kayla, where some pops in your head and you get really excited about it and you just want to talk about it. So that's probably, I mean, there's the hurdles of doing this together too. And getting
Yeah.
used to each other's things, don't do this, do that type thing. That's cool.
It's
And
where it's helpful to have a partner that you're doing this with, because like she can rein me in on things when I'm getting too ahead of myself, and I can rein her in on things when she's getting ahead of herself. And it kind of helps us to bounce things off of each other and be like, is this a good idea? Or no, yes. How do we change the idea? Like it really helps to have a sounding board with each other to talk about it.
It's true.
Oh.
The original idea for the podcast was very Duluth specific. And then I think I was like, we're gonna run out of stories like really fast. It's not very
Absolutely.
landing.
Right.
And then Kayla's like, what about Minnesota? I was like, we're gonna run out of stories really fast. And then Midwest. And I was like, okay. I was like, but sometimes we can leave the Midwest. She's like, sometimes.
Well, you know
Okay.
what would be
Okay.
cool? You have listeners now, I think you said from New Zealand, the UK.
India.
Was India one of them?
India.
And
And Canada. And Denmark.
Canada, yes. So have you figured out more about like how do you build your listener base and stuff for a podcast? Are you guys doing like any advertising anywhere, or like any idea of where that came about, or people just heard it once and they're like, I love this? So
We think that the UK and possibly India, because the other person in that podcast is not from the UK. They're from someplace else. So maybe, yeah.
Denmark was another one too.
Right away, we had another podcast, 2 women reach out to us and be like, hey, we saw that you started a spooky podcast. We also have a spooky podcast. Like, we'll give you a listen if you give us a listen. And so we did that. And so they're pretty good.
That's super
Yeah,
cool.
So and when they reached out to us, I remember telling Kayla, like, this is something that only women podcasters would do, like reach out to each other for mutual support. It just is that's one of the things I've noticed about like women in very specific fields is that they're like, let's help each other. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And most of what the
it.
podcasts I listen to are women or non-binary folks. So
Well, and then the other forms of like, so you've got people reaching out to one another and sharing with one another. And then aside from that, it's all social networking, which Brittney is a whiz at. And then it's word of mouth. Like it's straight up going up to people and saying, hey, I have a podcast. Will you listen to it? And if you like it, will you share it with people? And then if they do like it, they share it and those people share it and hopefully it builds.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, it's working. You guys, I think you're up. Okay, I think last I heard it was close to 100 now, or are you over that for subscribers? Yeah, I'd give that a check.
So the analytics are a little different on Anchor, which is what we use for distribution. It calculates your estimated audience and then it tells you your individual amount of listeners. But every time you upload a new podcast, it brings the count down because obviously you're adding, it's like the law of averages, you're adding in a new podcast with 0 listens, so it brings the whole average down.
I get it. Yep.
I'd say consistently we're ending up in the 65 to 70 range right now.
We've been about 70 plus for the last 2 episodes. I check it daily.
I would too.
Daily.
I would too.
I
And
just
that's
wanted
great
to be
for
at
only being on your
69 at one point. We ended up at 69 and I was fine.
You're like mic drop.
Yeah, for only being on like the 5th episode. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
69.
That's awesome.
I gotta say, Kayla, I'm really surprised. I can't believe you start with a location and then you build out from there. That seems like the most complicated way to do it.
I think your way sounds more complicated.
I
You're just gonna go with a whole pool of like, what sounds interesting? All right, where might it be located? No. No. You start with a space. And then, like, for example, you said that we would run out of topics with Duluth. You are right, because if you Google Duluth haunted locations, you have a very small amount to choose from.
I was
So if I
right.
Google yes, you were right. You were right. If I Google Duluth haunted locations or Two Harbors haunted locations or, Elkhorn, Wisconsin haunted things, then you get to see all the things that are in that area. And then you get to pick and choose from there.
I mean, I look at lists and then I'm like, oh, that seems interesting. And I read about it. I mean, I do find a lot of duds that way because I'm like, oh, someone said this was haunted once. And then I look into it a bunch and I'm like,
Never mind.
no, I guess not. I guess it's not that haunted.
But it's kind of fun to go down the rabbit hole, though, just to kind of find out. Because, like, there's a handful of places that I want to go. And like I said, I've never been haunted, but I want to go there anyway. The bus museum in Hibbing.
Mm-hmm.
Field trip. Maybe the four of us, us and Corey can do some of this stuff together. That would
I
be,
guess Corey can come.
I guess so. Yeah. So I want to do that, and then the Hibbing Auditorium, the high school in Hibbing. There's one particular seat that is supposedly haunted. That would be cool to just sit in once, maybe. The depot. Well, you did one on the depot, I think,
No.
right? You guys? No, you didn't.
No.
Glensheen.
Glensheen. It was Glensheen and Irving.
The William A.
Yep.
Irvin. Yep.
Yeah.
So I have a little, like, in our Google Drive, I have a little section of other ideas so that Brittany can't take them.
Oh.
I just have this little section of, like, things I want to do, and, like, you can't take those because they're mine. It's only
I should
like
look at
3,
that.
but I dibsed them. They're dibsed.
I
Dib.
have only one dibs.
Nose goes.
Yep. I have one dibs, but also of the two of us, I am the best person to look into that one place. So, but that's gonna be you'll know it when you hear it, but it's gonna be a lot of research for that one.
Oh, I can't wait. Yay. That's
Mhm.
super awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
It's been interesting. I like it. I like doing this. It's exhausting, but I like it.
It's good, and you're good at it. That's the funnest part, I think, like, or the most fun part. For a listener, like, I mean, I love podcasts. So, I will try this one and that one, and if I don't like it, I'm like, I tried it. But yours, I was working in my office. I was in there for the entire day, and I just binged your entire series, and I actually listened to the last one this morning when I was the last part of the last one when I was doing other things around the house. But I'm hooked. You guys are good at it. You have super good chemistry and banter, and you're funny, and it's great. And the content is super interesting. So you guys check all the boxes. I love it. It's super good.
well, and I have my go-to podcasts that I listen to every week.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorites are always the ones with multiple hosts
Mm-hmm.
because you feel like you're getting to be their friends. Like, in my mind, I know the Try Guys and they're my best friends. In my mind, like, the two people from that, and That's Why We Drink, they're my best friends.
They're my
I
best
have to
friend.
listen to this. I haven't heard this one.
Oh
You would like it. You would
my
like it.
goodness.
I know. Missing
And-
out.
Yeah.
It's called That's Why We Drink. I'm writing it down right now.
And That's Why We Drink. The premise of theirs is the world sucks and that's why we drink.
I love that. I will be listening to that tonight as I fall asleep, I'm sure.
And then, so I really liked the idea of doing something where, yes, sometimes we get really off topic, but it helps you feel like you're getting to know people.
Mhm.
And if I like the Try Guys podcast is what I call my therapy podcast. It's what I put on to listen to when I'm in a bad mood or having a bad day. And it just makes me feel a little calmer. And if we can be that podcast for somebody sometime, that would be pretty cool, pretty great.
That's awesome. Well, I think you're well on your way to doing that.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about your favorite horror movies, horror inspirations, things like that. All right, go. Ready, go.
So my favorite horror, I have two specific kinds that I am drawn to. I love found footage films, but ones that don't make you motion sick. So
I agree.
I love Paranormal Activity
Mm.
because
Mhm.
it's found footage, but it's not found footage that goes, whoa. Like, no, I don't want that. And the fourth kind, which I was just talking to Crystal and Brittany about before, which after we all got tricked by the Blair Witch, and then 10 years later they came out with the movie The Fourth Kind, I still bought into it. I still thought that that was real. Like, and then my family had to be like, no, you're fine.
Is that found footage? Because I haven't seen it.
As adult, and I fell for that.
It's fine. I'm going to put that on my list here to watch.
It has found footage elements.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Like piece it together, and then found footage is like in it to like
exactly
make it real.
Ooh,
exactly.
I like that.
And then I'm always a fan of zombie movies. My all-time favorite movie ever is 28 Days Later. And then I love the remake of Dawn of the Dead, and Netflix came out with that one, Cargo.
Yes.
And they're
That's a series, isn't it? Cargo? Or was it
it's just a movie.
Oh, okay. I might be thinking of something else, but I'll have to watch that.
Be a good zombie, and I'm in.
I am right there with you. That's my favorite. How about you,
Train
Brittany?
to Busan.
Oh, yes. Yeah. What about was that Meat Train or something like that?
Midnight Meat Train.
Midnight Meat Train. Oh, that was something.
Certainly was.
I like zombie movies. You know, I'm not a big fan of alien movies, which I think is weird because one of my biggest influences into the paranormal was X-Files. But I wasn't a big fan of their alien episodes.
Yeah.
I like their Monster of the Week episodes better. I love me a good ghost movie, but it's really, really hard to find a good one. And I'm okay if they're like really bad, like if they're so bad that they're good, but most of them are just
that's a whole
different
in and of itself, which
exactly
the movie Frozen, not the Frozen Disney, but
yeah, the other one, the
other one, the original Frozen, that falls right in that category. Okay, I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, no worries. Otherwise, I honestly, I've watched a lot of like slasher movies. It kind of combines I love paranormal stuff and I love true crime. And then this is like a weird, because they never seem to just like die. There's always some sort of like, why won't they just die element to them? So it has a little bit of like they're not the normal people kind of thing. I think most of the horror movies I watch are slasher movies, but there's, I guess, would you consider Wreck like a zombie movie?
What movie?
Wreck, as in like record. It's the original like Quarantine.
I would say it's more of a cryptid movie than a zombie movie.
Okay. Because it's a virus, though.
But
I'm giving all the spoilers away. Spoiler alert.
Okay, if I mean, isn't that kind of implied?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm terrible. I'm never the person. If I'm watching something that's about a movie from 800 years ago, I usually am never mad if I get something spoiled for me because I'm like, yeah, well, why didn't I watch it?
Yeah, it's been around for a very long time.
Right.
That movie's at least 10 years old.
So found footage, I really liked VHS. I thought that was.
Oh, me too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good. Yeah, but my list is kind of like yours. I like both of yours actually. I fall into both of those categories with a good shark movie. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Open Water or The Reef. Those are really good.
I am terrified terrified of sharks. Like
Yeah.
legitimately, I won't
Will you go in the ocean?
ocean.
You won't go in the
No.
ocean.
No, no.
Okay.
I'm
Because
mostly
here's the other
concerned about
thing.
the jellyfish because you step on them and then they sting you.
That's true.
There's all these things that can hurt you in the ocean.
Yeah.
If I want to swim in some really cold ass water, there's a lake right there.
But now you were talking though about muskies the other day on your podcast. I think it was.
but
See, I don't swim in lakes.
Okay, so no lakes. What about a river? No, river monsters. Rivers are
have
out.
leeches.
Mm. Yeah, I don't do
Stand by
leeches.
me.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Learned
one of the
about
best.
that.
If you're gonna go swim in a river, you bring salt.
That's
How you
true.
get them off of you.
I just don't want them on me. I think I'll just opt out of that.
Well, and then lakes and warmer lakes are on here now. You got to worry about brain-eating amoeba. Have you heard about this?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't even with that one. I
And
cannot.
that, my friends, is how you get a zombie movie.
That's true.
Full circle, right back. Boom. See,
I love it. All right, that's
welcome.
good.
See, Crystal, this is we should just have you on the podcast because this is exactly what we do. We start off thinking we're going to talk about something, and the next thing you know, we're talking about
You're
wrestlers
just like-
on Twitter.
Change lanes. I love that. Anytime you want need a guest for your panel, I'm all the way in. I promise you. I love this so much. Yeah. So is there anything else you guys want to tell me about here as far as upcoming projects, or do you want to keep those under wraps for surprises, or anything else that's exciting in your podcast world here?
Do we want to talk about the thing I was talking about recently?
Yeah. Do a little
Okay.
call to action.
Call to action. I want to do a homegrown episode. My favorite thing to do in life is to create unofficial homegrown things.
And you're
the
damn
way-
good at it.
I've done a trading card game, pet band, scavenger hunt, which, by the way, any listeners out there that want to take part in a unofficial homegrown scavenger hunt, find us on Facebook. Anyway.
Oh, I have to sign up for that.
It's fun. Do it, everyone. It's the best thing ever.
So I talked this through with Brittany, and she helped kind of narrow down how we're going to do it. And what we would like to do is have any homegrown artists or participants submit us your spooky stories. We want this to be our first entirely listener episode, like entire listener story episode, where you can come on there and you can share a spooky encounter you've had. We'll share your name, what project you're in, like band, or if you're a visual artist or a poet. And then at the end of your story, you can plug a little whatever you've got coming up. So if there's a virtual show you're doing, or you got an album coming out, or you have a website where you sell your stuff, then we can participate in Homegrown, because the idea would be it would be in the middle of Homegrown week, because we release our episodes on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a way for people to promote their work and share their spooky experiences.
I love that. I can't love that even any more than I do. I think that's super great. And I want you to send me the link to that, and we're going to put it in the comments below so that everyone knows how they can sign up to contribute to that. That's be super badass. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, yeah. So you can actually submit stories to us anytime. If you want it for the homegrown episode, do try and make a note that it's for the homegrown episode, but you can set it anytime between now and like a week beforehand. And you can email it to us at leftofskeptic@gmail.com. Or we have a listener story submission box on our website, which is leftofskeptic.com.
And where else can people find, I know a lot of times you guys will show, each other pictures, or you'll talk about pictures, and there's places people that obviously when we're listening to a podcast, we can't see those until we explore the world of social networking. So where can people find you on social media?
You can find us at Left of Skeptic podcast on Facebook or at Left of Skeptic on Twitter and Instagram.
That's
And
fantastic.
soon we will have a TikTok because I love TikTok.
I love that. I love
Gonna
it.
do a TikTok.
You got to do the TikTok. You have to do the TikTok. That's great. Well, thank you guys so much for your time this evening and for doing what you're doing. It's super exciting. Corey and I are excited to get together with you and do some collaborating on a few things down the
Yes.
road in the after times. That would be great. And we will put all of the places that everyone can listen to Left of Skeptic and find you on social media. It's great. Thank you so much for everything, and keep on
Thank you
keeping
for
on. I don't have a
having
way
us.
to end either.
Yeah, thank
Have you
you.
figured that out?
Creep it real. Oh wait, no, don't cut it out. No, because that premieres on this episode. Never mind. Corey, cut that out.
We'll edit that out. I didn't even hear it. I didn't even understand what you said. So how about we'll say keep it spooky. I don't know. That's stupid too.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. No one ever knows how to end these things. So when you can't do anything else, you just say, okay, bye.
Bye. All right, I'm gonna hit stop.